and welcome back to another episode of Come Over for Dinner. I'm Bess Hawthorne, and today I'm joined by a very special guest from Georgia. Her name is Ericha Van Brimmer. Ericha is married to Grant, and they just started a church plant named the Reformation Parish in Sonoya, Georgia. They have 3 children ranging in age from 13 to 16, 3 teenagers, very fun. Her days are filled with homeschooling and the hospitality that accompanies being a pastor's wife. She was recommended by her friend Charity Edmonds, and this is what Charity had to say. Ericha is constantly hosting people at their home, large and small crowds, plus weekly Sabbath dinners, and she does a lovely job. They had a huge Reformation celebration for the whole church last year that was just great fun. She is so incredibly good at making people feel welcomed when they are at her home. She is indeed an excellent cook and hostess, but her home is especially welcoming, and as a guest, you almost never want to leave. Welcome, Ericha.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. I'm a longtime listener, so I feel quite honored.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for listening, and I am honored to have you on. It just sounds like you have had great success in the world of hospitality if your guests never want to leave. You may have to give us tips on that. How do you get guests to leave when your house is so welcoming?
Oh, yeah, the party never ends. It's quite fun around here. So we have great guests. Charity is so sweet, so she's very complimentary.
Yes. With having 3 teenagers, I'm sure you're used to staying up late. So yes. I know what it's like to have the party never ending with teenagers in the house.
Yeah, it's busy times around here. It's very fun, though. Like, when I first started having kids, everyone warned me of the teen years. And now that we're here, it seems like it's a party all the time. And there's constantly friends coming over, which just makes the party more fun and more vibrant. And it's great.
Yes, it is. The teen years are a lot of fun. The thing is to be faithful when they're little, and you will really enjoy the teen years.
Yeah.
Because, yes, teen years, at all ages, whether it's toddlers, the terrible 2s, or the whatever 3s, and, you can say that about every age.
It's
but
true.
If you're faithful, you are going to have a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy them.
So true.
Well, before we jump into all of our questions, all of her tips, I also wanted to let the listeners know that this happens to be episode 150, and Ericha is the guest on the sesquicentennial episode.
Yay, I'm so honored. Wow, that's so fun.
I was just looking that up because everywhere in the news you see that the country is celebrating the semi-quincentennial birthday. And I'm like, well, what is 150?
That's a mouthful.
We need 100 more episodes to catch up to the country. But
I feel like you'll get there in no time. Yeah.
That's right. I'll just keep plugging away.
That's right.
On that note, be sure to become a friend on Instagram or Facebook. I rarely mention that because I'm not a huge social media person, but I do put, every time I have an episode, I do put an announcement about the episode. And what's fun about that is I usually use pictures from the person, if I can. Mm-hmm. And so it's something in their lives or something we talked about on the episode, and I always think they're great.
Yeah.
So if you follow, you will see them on Instagram or Facebook. Just look for Come Over for Dinner.
Yeah. It's great because I feel like when you get a magazine or something in the mail, there's always beautiful pictures and it is inspirational. But when you see real life pictures of different people's, parties or tables, like there's an added layer of realness to it. So I love that so much.
Right. It wasn't just posed for the camera or for Instagram. Right. It really is a Sabbath dinner that they hosted or a baby shower or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, back to you. Tell us a little bit more about your hospitality in your family.
Okay. Well, my husband was in the Army for 10 years prior to him getting out and doing ministry. So our hospitality really has looked different at different life stages. My grandparents moved in with us last September. My grandfather's 91, my grandmother's 87. So it's kind of funny that we're sort of ushering into a new stage of hospitality. And I was thinking about some of the things that you often ask on your podcast, and I feel like finding what works for you in your stage of life is very important. Because it changes when you have very little kids, when we were in a small apartment versus, where we are now. it looks very different in different seasons of life. And I think you can be discouraged if you aren't where you would like to be. So just finding your style of hospitality, like what has God given you? What's in front of you? Who is in front of you? How do you make hospitality work when you have early bedtimes or you have, someone elderly relying on you who needs help getting to bed or whatever. So like finding your style of hospitality is incredibly freeing, actually, because you're not competing with other voices or other people. You really are just looking at the raw tools God's given you and thinking like, how do I make a return on this stuff? And so that's going to change as your kids get older. They're, in and out of different school programs or, church plant season is really a busy season for us. And so that looks very different than when we were just a young family living in a small apartment. So I think we have had many different iterations of hospitality and learning to be flexible and learning to just be laid back and not taking things too seriously and just letting the point of it all really like shine through. I think that's very important.
That's very good advice because a lot of times we have a picture in our head of what hospitality is supposed to look like, or maybe we're looking at someone else who's doing it different and it does look fabulous and it is great,
Right.
but it's not what God has put in front of us for our season.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned with having elderly grandparents in your house, that's not going to look the same as if you had no one in your house or if you had young children, very young children who needed an early bedtime. All the things you mentioned, that's just great advice. How do you think your hospitality has changed since you have had grandparents move in with you?
Yeah, I think my grandmother's in a wheelchair and my grandfather is very hard of hearing. They both require quite a bit of hands-on care. And so in some ways, it does feel like kind of going back to the beginning of our hospitality when we had younger kids and it was more of a hands-on experience. I'm very aware of like having extra noise. Like I would usually have a playlist on of like relaxing music or something nice, but my grandfather can't hear well. So if I have extra noise, it's competing. So just like thinking through who your guests are, and sometimes that does mean like who your family is. You're trying to serve them and love them too. So yeah, just accessibility in and out of homes, strollers and walkers now and wheelchairs and things like that. Just thinking through who your guests are, I think is very important. If you do have a lot of young families like our church does right now, I usually always try and make sure I have like a pack and play in the house or high chairs. IKEA actually has some really great cheap high chairs that are stackable. And so that's a good tip.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah. I think they're like $20 and you can stack them. So if you need lots of them for events or whatever,
Right.
stack them high.
Exactly. Stack them up, put them in the garage or basement or wherever you have to store things.
Yeah. Yeah. So just
that's a
whoever
great
you
idea.
have in your circle, just kind of think through their needs and how to bless them.
It's a good encouragement to remember that first, think about your family. Think about where they are, what their needs are, whether it's grandparents or children, your husband. Think about how can I serve them first, and then let's go out from there.
Yeah. It's encouraging for them too, I think, because if you're loving them while you're trying to also love people outside of your home, it's like a good rallying cry, right? Like we're all in this together. You're not a secondary thought here. Like we love you. You're part of the team. Like let's get in there and let's love these people and serve them. And it's encouraging for them, I think, to not be forgotten.
Or to feel like they're an imposition.
Yeah.
Like you wanted your playlist on. You always have music on. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
Or I'm turning it off and I'm being kind of huffy about it.
Right.
None of that is present, which is wonderful. You're making them feel welcome before even opening the doors to your guests.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Tell me a little bit about the Reformation celebration that you host.
Yeah. So we try and hit church calendar holidays. Reformation Day is super fun. That one tends to be more like a dress up kind of holiday, so kids can come in fun costumes. Currently, we host most of the events in our yard because we don't have a church building just yet. But the Lord has given us this beautiful long driveway that we set up tables and chairs down the driveway and have food. We try and have games and things for the kids to do. And of course, my husband always has a real sweet liturgy to follow and like a short little homily and some songs to sing and stuff. But I think it's really fun. We have a piñata that the kids always get to break into, and we usually try and have like a girl craft and a boy craft. So last year, the boys got to make wooden swords so they could fight off the dragon. And then the girls got to make flower crowns, which was really fun. They were adding all kinds of ribbons and flowers, and it was really, the boys were done in like 5 minutes with their craft, and the girls spent like an hour and a half trying to make it just perfect. Right. It was so cute.
We're ready for the fight. They're like, how fast can I assemble this so we can get to the sword fight?
They were fighting whilst making their swords, It was really cute. So typical. We have a chili cook-off, so there's a competition. So the ladies get to come and bring their best chili recipe, and we have a panel of judges that votes, and we have a trophy that gets passed down. And then we had I don't remember who gave us this idea, but it's a real fun idea. For the men, there was a rock toss competition. And so we found this like 40-pound rock on our property. And the men were hilarious. They were just like trying their hardest to chuck this rock as far as they could. And it was just so fun. Everyone gathered around them, and it became this like whole fun event. So like we have one man in our church who actually was an Army Ranger. And of course he won. He was the strongest man. So he's got bragging rights. And we always tease him like, well, you are the strongest man at church.
You are the chief rock tosser.
You are. Yeah. So it was real fun. So yeah, that's kind of what we do for Reformation Day. There's always food and drinks and all kinds of games. And yeah, it's real fun.
That reminds me of a fall festival that we had for years at the church that we were at with our kids. And similar things, always food and fun for the kids, whether it was hay rides or costume contest or bags of candy. But one year, I don't even know who had this idea. They had the idea to do a cast iron skillet throwing contest.
Oh.
Quite sure. Whoever came up with this was quite sure that the handle would not break off or to get damaged in any way because it was cast iron. Well, of course, I think one of them did crack or break. The handle broke off. Something happened, but a couple of them were intact. And I'm pretty sure it was my sister who won a cast iron skillet. Esther. Shout out to Esther in Arkansas. And I was quite ashamed of my own throwing skills.
You don't realize how heavy 40 pounds truly is until you're like forced to throw a rock. And you're like, wow, this is impressive.
Yes. And how far or how little distance it seems to go when you really put everything into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's so fun.
Yeah. Those are great memories. I remember the children in our church just every year looking forward to that fall festival is what we called it.
Yeah.
A tradition like that is just very special and builds community within the church and is something to look forward to every year.
Yeah, for sure. That's great.
So that's wonderful.
The cast iron, I will have to look at maybe incorporating that somehow this coming year. That's fun. You got to give me all your ideas.
Or maybe the ladies can throw a smaller rock and whoever wins gets an intact cast iron skillet.
That's the trophy, really. You get a cast iron pan.
That's the trophy. Just in case the handle breaks off. I don't know. Or is damaged or cracked or something. Of course, maybe if it lands just right, it wouldn't be. And it would be really funny to see the ladies throwing their cast iron skillets.
That would be so fun.
What other chance do you have? I mean, to throw a cast iron skillet.
Yeah.
You've never done this before or since.
Right.
Okay, we mentioned that you host a weekly Sabbath dinner. Would you tell me a little bit more about what it looks like in your family?
Yeah, like I said before, it really has changed throughout the years with, the stage of life we're in. We literally just this week got done with a big construction project on our kitchen. So we were able to extend our dining room kitchen section. So I am so incredibly excited because that's going to mean so much freedom for Sabbath dinners. But we basically, the name of the game is cram as many people into whatever space we have. And that has meant maybe getting, 8-10 people in our home at some points versus, I think at this point in our house, the most we fit prior to our renovation has been 25. So we're really hoping to up those numbers because it's so much fun when you are all in a room together, singing together. My husband has a liturgy with catechism questions that he asks everyone. We always sing the doxology. There's always candies down the table for the kids. Once again, if you're not getting the good stuff throughout the week, I mean, you're really looking forward to that Sabbath, table because there's going to be treats on there for you. So that's always really fun. I don't know. I don't remember who gave me this tip, but someone told me to get like a wrapping paper, like a roll of wrapping paper, the brown kind you can get from the Dollar Tree, super cheap. I think even Home Depot has a version of it. But rather than a tablecloth on a kid's table, if you roll it out and kind of wrap the tabletop and throw some crayons on the table, the kids can color, and that's really fun in a way of occupying the real little ones for a little bit while we're going through questions and all that kind of stuff. So we do that. And I think, every Sabbath has looked a little different depending on, who we're inviting, the ages of the guests. We had a friend bring karaoke one time, and like the kids were in our basement, and they were just like, it was hilarious because you could hear them, a couple stories up, and it was just booming, and they were all dancing. It was very, very fun. That was a particularly fun Sabbath dinner.
Very lively.
Yeah. It's just like amping up the joy, amping up the festivities. That's kind of the goal. And it's really fun, I've noticed, to have multiple families, and including like singles or maybe a couple elderly, because it's a different dynamic. They're more comfortable when it's not just them and the pastor, generally. If you get more people, it just kind of like takes down the tension a little bit. And it's interesting to see like what different personalities bring out of each other, different commonalities, different backgrounds. It's really fun. Like we're in the South, when you have different families coming in and they have like opposing college football, maybe like a rivalry team or whatever. So that can be really fun.
That also makes it very lively.
So yeah.
Especially if their teams are playing each other that week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We've really, we've run the gamut here, I feel like, with different stages. Another tip, because people have asked me, like, how do you always use paper dishes? And we do that for our psalm sings generally, just because it's so many people. But for Sabbath dinners, I do like to use like the good stuff. I want to be able to use what I'm collecting. But I have let go this idea that my silverware has to match. We host too much, and there's too many people coming and going to have it match. So I've just chose not to care about that. But if you are a thrifter, there's generally always packs of silverware for super cheap, and I will hoard that stuff. And because like somehow we're always missing forks, and I don't.
Right, they disappear.
Yeah, spoons too, forks and spoons. So yeah,
I kind of wonder sometimes if kids throw them away without realizing it.
I think maybe.
Mine disappeared over the years with little kids, and I never saw anything happen. But I wondered sometimes if they were using a paper plate but real silverware, if somehow they just dumped it without thinking of it. I don't know. I don't know how it could have happened, but it was like socks in the dryer. We never lost socks, but we lost silverware.
Yeah. Yeah, it just happened somehow. But that's a good tip, because silverware can be expensive.
Yeah, thrifting it is a great idea.
Yeah. Even online, like you can go on, different secondhand websites and get pretty good bundles, estate sales, that sort of thing.
What about dishes? Do you also thrift dishes and do mix and match?
I have done mix and match, yeah. Like I said before, I love dishes. So I started thrifting certain sets, and then usually for birthdays, Christmas, my husband will kind of buy extras for me to add to certain sets. So I think I have several different sets, but I think almost all of them started from like a thrifted inspiration. Like I've walked upon the holy grail of someone's, thrifted dishes, and I'm like, oh, I need that one.
The whole set is here. This is amazing.
But like a set of 6 is never sufficient. You always need more than 6. So then I'm like, I'm on the hunt. Yeah. But mix and matching is really good. And it's really cute too. That's the thing. Like mixing and matching, it's super cute. It's fun. It adds different texture and variety.
Yeah. About 10 years ago or so, they had a huge phenomenon that everyone was calling shabby chic. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was all over the decorator shows on
Yeah.
TV, and everyone had to do shabby chic. And I think
Mhm.
part of that was the mix and match, where everything looked nice together, but it was a totally different place setting at each plate
Mhm.
or at each spot
Yeah.
on the table. I don't know if that's still a big thing, but I thought it looked cute. I think you can get by with it.
Yeah, use what you have. I think when we first started our Sabbath dinners, it really was like this like conviction that my husband and I came to. And we were living in a very small apartment in Brooklyn, and we had 3 young kids, and it was like, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I feel compelled to start making this day special. And I can remember thinking, I don't have a ton of resources. I'm just going to go to the Dollar Tree and see what I can find for, at that point, it was still a true dollar, not $1.25 and up. But I found like beautiful dishes for $1 and actual like crystal glasses. I think it was just the Lord blessing me, because I don't know that the Dollar Tree, I don't even know how that happened, but these beautiful Libby crystal glasses I found at the Dollar Tree in Brooklyn. And I bought all of
Wow.
them. And
Right.
but they have chargers, beautiful chargers for $1, and you can order
Hmm.
online, which I did not know, but you can go to dollartree.com and they will ship you things. I think you have to have like so much quantity. I think it's like 25. But I mean, $25 for 25 chargers is not bad at all. So, yeah, I mean, you can really do things on the cheap thrift, Dollar Tree, and just kind of start building up your arsenal.
Right. I had no idea that Dollar Tree had shipping,
Yeah.
because sometimes you might walk into a Dollar Tree. Let's say are in a small town and there's only one Dollar Tree. There might
Mm-hmm.
not be 25
Yeah.
chargers, but if you could order it online and have it shipped straight to your house and have the exact quantity you need,
Yeah.
that's a fabulous tip.
Yeah. Or if you have a friend, maybe like you don't want 25, maybe you want 12, maybe you can split it. I've done that before with a friend. We've kind of done splitsies. You know, and there's just random things too, like champagne glasses. I don't really use champagne glasses often enough to justify buying 30 of them. But we do host a New Year's Eve party when I want champagne glasses. So the Dollar Tree, you can order, you know, champagne glasses, and it's
Hmm.
easy to justify the splurge.
Absolutely. Who do you typically invite for your Sabbath dinners? Do you kind of have a list of everybody in the church and try to circulate among the
Yeah.
members? Or who do
Yeah.
you think of when you sit down to invite somebody?
I think that is probably how we have traditionally done it, just kind of working our way through the roster of people at church. I think being intentional about like who we try and pair with, because sometimes there are groups of people who just naturally are best friends and they tend to do more stuff together. And I kind of like to be a pot stirrer and break up the friend groups and like mix and match people who wouldn't normally hang out together. Or if there's like an older couple, I like mixing them with a younger couple. And we just kind of mix it all up. I just like introducing people and getting them outside of their normal circles. And I don't know, I think it breeds like some kind of camaraderie, and yeah, it's fun. It's fun to realize you have more in common with someone than you thought you did.
Right. It allows for deeper friendships within the church. Like you said, if you're not typically getting together with that person because
Yeah.
they're in a different age group or whatever, then you all of a sudden get to know that person better and can greet them on Sunday, knowing more about their lives and being able to have a better conversation. So
Right.
that's a really good idea.
And sometimes I think it's scary, especially like, you know, the young moms with the littles tend to hang out together. It can be scary to go up to an older lady and say, how do you potty train or something? But when you're naturally around the table talking through things, and then sometimes it's just a more natural way of being able to ask questions of someone who is in a different life stage. Encouragement, tips, things like that are just a little bit more natural than if you're always in your own little, you know, corner of the
Right.
world.
And at church on Sunday morning, it's just such a fast time.
Right. Yep.
It's just busy, and maybe you're keeping up with your little kids and, you know, have to chase after one or whatever, or you start a conversation and it gets interrupted, and
Yep.
It just isn't the same as sitting down to a table with someone and having a long time to chat.
Yeah. Around a glass of wine or a cocktail,
Mhm.
everyone, is a little bit more relaxed and the kids are playing or coloring or doing whatever. Yeah. It's just
Yeah,
easier.
those are great ideas. All right, well, let's jump into the questions. What is your favorite menu or one of your favorite menus that you might serve when you're having people to your house?
I was asking my oldest daughter about this. Like, what do we actually serve people? I think my philosophy in cooking is to just keep it real, like down home. I'm very
Mhm.
much like a meat and potatoes or like just try and keep it simple, especially because we have so many young kids. I try not to make it too frilly when we have a bunch of little ones over. And I think the thing that we make most often is a recipe called chicken, spinach, and orzo. So it's kind of like a chicken pasta type of recipe, and you can sneak in some veggies, and kids are usually okay with that. And that's really simple. You can kind of make it all in like one cast iron skillet is usually what I make it in.
Speaking of
Yeah.
cast iron.
And yeah, so it doesn't take much time at all, and it is very it's a very easy, like a home style kind of comfort food. And then I usually would make like a sweet potato roll. I have a really good family recipe. It was like a potato roll recipe, and my daughter and I were like, I think we could swap out a regular potato for a sweet potato. Like, let's try it. And we did, and it's wonderful, and it's really this beautiful orange color. And so, yeah,
Did it make it a little sweeter or did it change the taste much?
a little bit. It didn't change it as much as I was kind of anticipating, but it does kind of have like a little bit of a deeper flavor, I think. Yeah. And it pairs beautifully with like a cinnamon or like a honey butter.
That sounds so good.
Yeah, it's very good.
That reminds me of Roadhouse. Do y'all have Roadhouse where you
I
are?
think so.
They always have I think it's cinnamon butter or maybe cinnamon honey butter on the tables with their rolls. Anyway, it just made me think of it because my daughter's pregnant and one of the only things that she wants is the Roadhouse rolls and butter.
Yeah.
At least that was true the last pregnancy, so it might be true this pregnancy too.
I don't blame her.
That sounds delicious.
So good. Yeah. I think with dessert, we'd probably do something real simple, like a no-bake eclair cake. I try and do, especially for large events, as much, prep work or as much stuff beforehand before people show up. So anything I can do the day before, especially for large events, I'm all about. Like, let's make 2 or 3 9x13 pans of this no-bake eclair cake, get it in the fridge, and then I don't have to think about it.
That's a great idea. And usually desserts can be made ahead of time.
Yep.
Or at least that's one thing you can pick to make ahead of
Yeah.
time if you decide to
Yeah.
go with a recipe that's easy to do that way.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And if you do have a smaller crowd and you're trying to make it a little bit more elevated, you could even take a recipe like that and put it in like a little goblet or like a cute little dish. Just serve it. I've done that before, and it makes a very simple dessert look a little nicer, a little more special.
Yes. That's a fun idea. Do you keep like disposable goblets on hand or do you just pull out from your cabinet your glassware?
Yeah. So my whole life, I have loved dishes. It's a real problem for me. I have far too many.
It's a good problem to have.
I'm a thrifter, and like I have several different sets of dishes. So glassware dishes, and I try for smaller crowds to really pull them out and get to use them and make memories on them. My goal is to have enough of like each of the sets that when my daughters get married, I can gift them some of them, and they'll have the memories of using them and all the dinners and meals. So that's kind of our goal. So I'm kind of always looking for opportunities to use the dishes so I can justify buying more. But large crowds, when we do like big church events, we tend to go with paper because it can be a lot.
And if it's not at your house, that would be hard to transport.
Yeah.
And things are going to get broken, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And if you're hoping to give full sets to your daughters,
Yep.
do you have 2 girls and 1 boy? I'm
Yeah.
assuming
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you have daughters, plural.
Yep. 2
Okay,
girls.
that's fun.
Mhm.
Which one is the boy out
He's
of
in the
the
middle.
3? He's the very middle.
Yeah.
Okay. He's holding his own.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The Lord gave us one son, and he is all boy. He's great, though. Like, when we do big events, he's the one, like, hauling chairs and tables, and he's got it down to a science. So
He's your strength.
He
That's
is, yeah.
wonderful. We had one daughter in the middle of all of our boys. There's 2 boys on either side of her, and she's right in the middle. And I always said that about her, too. She can hold her own.
Yeah.
But she was always my cupcake baker and
Yeah.
decorator and did all the fun things.
Yeah.
While the boys were, manhandling the tables and
Right.
chairs or whatever, she was making things beautiful.
Yep. That's wonderful.
We'll be right back after a quick message from today's sponsors. Are you searching for hands-on activities to help your kids explore the practical side of science? Look no further than your kitchen. Inquisicook blends food science and culinary arts into an engaging program that puts delicious food on the family table. Let Inquisicook do the teaching with lesson videos, reliable recipes, and assessment tools that put students on track for success. Their online platform is easy to navigate and optimized for mobile, so the learning experience can move from the classroom to the kitchen without a hitch. Inquisicook turns curious students into intuitive cooks, not just recipe followers. Say goodbye to the tyranny of the ingredients list and say hello to utilizing what's in season, what's on sale, or what's in the fridge. Visit inquisicook.com to view sample lessons, then check out the recipe gallery to see just how crave-worthy science can be. If you have a homeschool teen doing chemistry next year, consider Axiom Science because this is exactly the kind of thing I wish more families knew about. Nicole Jeffrey, who you might remember from the podcast last year, homeschooled her own children before developing these courses, and you can really tell they were built by someone who understands what homeschool life actually looks like. Students work independently through short video lessons covering the full high school curriculum. There are tons of worked examples and review lessons built in, and every quiz comes with detailed step-by-step solutions and, wonderfully for mom, automatic grading. So instead of sitting at the kitchen table at 10 p.m. trying to grade chemistry problems, students can check their own understanding and see their progress as they go. I also love that the labs use normal household materials like vinegar and baking soda instead of expensive lab kits you use once and then shove in a closet forever. There's no expensive textbook or answer key, no complicated setup, and parents don't need any science background to make it work. A full year of access is just $99, which is honestly incredibly reasonable for a full high school science course. So if you want flexible, rigorous high school chemistry that actually works in real life, go check out Axiom Science at www.axiom, that's AXIOM, science.com. What is a shortcut or time saver that you would use with this menu? You mentioned making desserts ahead of time, which is a great idea. What else would you say?
Sometimes I think, I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, that when you make hospitality a way of life, which I feel like, most Christian women are wanting to make a good practice of this and just have kind of an open hand with, the things that God has given to us. I do think when you are just prepared to love the person walking through your door, whatever that looks like, that when they come into your home, it seems very simple to just love them. So I think when we think about preparing for people to come into our house or shortcuts and stuff, just always be prepared. Just always have things that you think, oh, this will just bless them. Have a jug of lemonade in the back of your fridge always. Whether your kids can have it or your neighbor, whoever, comes over last minute. There are just simple shortcuts like that where this is just a way of life. We're always having people in our house. So whoever comes in the door, I'm just going to be prepared to love. And in that way, it is maybe not a typical shortcut, but it does kind of alleviate the stress of having to last minute think through things. I remember we had a guest from Tunisia. I didn't even know where that was when he came over the first time. I had to look it up on a map. I was kind of ashamed of the homeschool mom that I was. But he asked me for a cup of juice. And I thought, do I have juice in the house? I don't know that I have juice. I have soda or sweet tea, but I didn't have juice. But after having him over, I made sure to always have some kind of juice in the house. It's not an expensive thing to have. But then I thought, why don't I have juice in the house? So now I always have
And
juice
he
in the
really
house.
did mean juice. What did he
Yes.
mean? A certain flavor? Or, I mean, if that was a custom in his culture to always have juice, what did he mean by it?
I don't know, but I asked, like, do you mean like apple juice or orange juice? He's like, yeah, just some kind of juice. I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay. So now I
Okay.
always have
All right.
juice in the house. Moving to the South, like I'm not from the South, neither is my husband. So we try to always make sure we have some kind of tea in the house. That's a
Hmm.
new thing for us. So just kind of living a life of hospitality, really like it is a shortcut, but it's an intentional shortcut. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. To have things at the ready that are very simple and easy to pull
Yes.
out that
Mm-hmm.
maybe you didn't necessarily make, like a jug of sweet tea or
Right.
lemonade, or some nice cookies in the pantry,
Right.
or things like that.
Yeah.
I think, like you're saying, it gives you the ability to offer something even if it's small.
Right. And even like not food related, thinking through always, like I said, having a pack and play in the house for someone who comes over after church and their baby's tired. Well, we can put the pack and play in the room. It's just a way of being prepared, but I didn't necessarily have to set it up the night before or something, but we just always have that, having toys. My kids are obviously not babies anymore, but I try and always keep a little basket of baby toys or games that little ones like or something like that. It's a type
Mm-hmm.
of prep work that doesn't necessarily have to be redundant.
Right. It's like you're saying, you're thinking about your guests ahead of time, or even just people in general. How
Hmm.
can we generally be prepared to offer comfort
Right.
or a welcoming environment so
Hmm.
that they can be here and enjoy
Yeah.
themselves?
Yeah. I think being, like I said, having hospitality be a way of life makes it actually easier for you because the more you use that muscle and the more you have someone in your home or different kinds of people in your home, it becomes more comfortable. You kind of just get into like a rhythm and a flow. You have the things you need, over the course of time and stuff. And it is the best kind of prep work, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great advice. Well, speaking of prep work, what is one of your best prep tips when you're having people over? How do you prepare your home or how do you prepare in other ways?
Okay, so I was thinking about this question, and I think my best prep tip, this is a weird one, but I like to have like, my dishes, like I said, I love a candy dish. There's something so nostalgic about having candy dishes all over the house. My grandmother always had them. And now that she's living with us, like I for sure have candy dishes all over the house. But when you have little ones, of course, this is like you want them to love the candy dish and all the kids that come over, like they know where each dish is across. And they're always looking to see what kind of treats in there. But when you have glass or crystal pretty dishes, you don't necessarily want, real tiny ones getting in there and just breaking stuff. But I have discovered that there is like a putty that you can get. I think it's actually for posters maybe, but I have taken it and put it underneath all of my like candlesticks or my candy dishes, and you can't see it, but it kind of sticks the dish onto the table or onto whatever surface so that kids can get their hands in there and it won't move.
Is genius. I
Yeah.
have never thought of that or seen that before.
Yeah.
That's a fabulous tip.
And it doesn't ruin the surface of your table. Like it's meant for walls, so it's a peel and stick kind of thing. It does work. If you have little ones in your house, grandkids or kids coming over, just whatever you don't want, broken easily. Yeah, get
Hmm.
some wall putty. It's like $3 for a whole pack.
Do you remember the brand you used?
I don't know. I think I just got it at Walmart.
Okay. Well, that's a great idea. And candy dishes, they are nostalgic. I'm sure your grandmother
Mm-hmm.
loves them. I remember my grandma having candy dishes out, and at Christmas time, it was always the soft peppermints.
Yep.
Not the striped ones, but the ones with the Christmas tree. I think they call them nuggets or something, and they only
Okay.
come out at Christmas time. The round, chewy candy that had the Christmas tree drawn on the middle. And she always had those out. And something else, I know there were cinnamon red hots at one point,
Oh,
but
good. Yeah.
anyway, she would rotate things.
Yep.
And it's just interesting thinking about that now. Like, oh, that I actually really did like that as a kid. That was a
Yeah.
fun treat when I went to her house. So I'll have to consider getting a candy dish.
Yeah, they're so pretty, and it is so fun for a kid to come over and know, like, I have access to this. Like, it's not a
Uh-huh.
no, and there's treats that we're
Dessert
waiting.
before dinner.
That's right. And then it's fun really fun to see where the candy wrappers end up across the house too. Like we have found several on the back of the toilet. Like some little kid got a
Oh,
candy and then just decided to just, put the little
yeah.
wrapper right there, and that's
Uh-huh.
where it stayed. And it's just funny to find
Yeah.
them tucked in a house plant or here or there, and it's quite fun.
That's a challenge for your cleanup. How many candy wrappers can we find?
Yeah,
Can we find all of them?
yeah.
Did we clean thoroughly enough to find all of them? Of course, you don't know
Right.
the number you're supposed to be getting to.
That's true.
My husband and I were greeters at church yesterday, and it was so cute. We saw this one little girl come out with her candy, and she sat on a bench near where we were greeting. And she was just oblivious to all the people walking in and out. She had her little pile of candy and she was opening it up and savoring each bite and
Hmm.
then setting the wrapper next to her. And this went on for, I mean, I don't even know how many minutes till her parents came and collected her. Or she ran off to find him. I don't know. We were greeting, so we kind of missed the end part. But when she left, my husband went over and picked up all of her little pieces
Yeah.
of discarded wrappers that she didn't even know were there because she was just enjoying that
Right.
candy so much.
Right. That's the
Probably had no clue
fun
where a
part.
trash can was.
When you think about cleaning up after a big event, we just hosted a Pentecost party at our house this last weekend. And it's one of my favorite things to clean up after a party like that. And that sounds so counterintuitive, but it's just so fun to see the remnants of like what the kids did and like what areas. This is another great tip. I have bought pool noodles. We don't have a pool, but I bought pool noodles for $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. And it is the kids' favorite toy. I have 30 of them, I think. And the boys will just like whack each other and their swords or their raft or their whatever they're doing with these. They love the pool noodles. So I will find like a little stack of pool noodles and then candy wrappers like all over in the woods or play set. And it's just the fun, like one of the most fun parts of hosting is just seeing like all the sweet times these kids have had with a pool noodle and a handful of candy. Can't be beat.
Right. No, can't be beat. They are enjoying
Yeah.
themselves thoroughly.
Yeah.
Pool noodles are a great idea because they could be used indoors. They're not going to hurt each
Yep.
other. I mean, unless they happen to just be whacking at a lamp or something.
Sure.
Pretty much you could use it inside without it being a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I need to get some of those
Yeah.
for my toy collection.
Yeah. They're great. And then you can like fold them and store them in a pretty tight little closet or whatever you've got. Yeah, it was just a random impulse buy of going to the Dollar Tree and trying to pick up chalk or bubbles. It's like, well, pool noodles. But it is the toy that kids ask for. Like, where are the noodles at? So,
Do you get the real long ones or did you
yeah.
cut them down or
No,
they each have a real long one?
They have asked if they could cut them. And I think some of the moms decided maybe we shouldn't be cutting the noodles because they'll be a little stronger if they're shorter. So we've kept them long, but hours of playtime. They just love them so much.
Kids are so imaginative. They could turn those pool noodles into 10 different things.
It's so true. It's so true.
What is your best advice for making people feel welcome when they come to your home? You've mentioned lots of things already, but I'm sure you have more.
I think it really is just your attitude. You can do all of the right things on paper, and there are so many great tips. But if you are a high-strung, kind of stressed out host when people arrive, you could have the most beautiful table and wonderful tablescape, food, whatever, and people are just going to feel uncomfortable. So I think that's one of the things that my husband and I have strived to just be as laid back and go with the flow. Just things are going to spill. Kids are going to, leave candy wrappers in weird places. And like, we're just not going to care about that. Like, that does not matter at all. So having a real open hand with whatever happens, like you could have a plan and a schedule. And sometimes, someone scrapes their knee and it interrupts the schedule, or it's fine. Let it go. Like, just
Right.
let it be a sweet time. Let the people matter more than the routine. I think that really is just the most important thing, is just be laid back and open-handed and let the spirit kind of guide the night a little bit.
Right. I think it is important to just be ready when your guests show up, to be done with your work, your prep, which is a point a lot of people have made, is just do as much as you can ahead of time, early, because then you are able to do that easier. But even if you aren't as prepared or ahead of time as you wanted to be. At some point, it's just like, well, I've done as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be good enough. Maybe I didn't get to scrub this or that as detailed as I wanted. Nobody cares. Nobody's looking.
Nope.
So just let it go in your own mind and truly enjoy having your guests there.
And sometimes, maybe this is more of a ministry thing, but like there are people who show up unannounced. And like I didn't get the chance to scrub the bathroom, or I didn't get the chance to vacuum, or whatever it is. And it's like, well, the Lord knows, and it's fine. Like just let it go. It doesn't matter. Do the best you can with what you've got, and just,
Which makes those people who are coming feel like they truly can come to speak to the pastor or whatever it is, whatever reason they're showing up, that they are welcome and not a burden to you at that moment.
Right. And like going back to the having, an attitude and like a lifestyle of hospitality, if you just kind of do have some of those necessary things, like the juice, if you just always have juice in your house, maybe it's not juice in particular, but then when someone does show up unannounced, then you don't feel panicked instantly. Like, maybe you would have liked to have gotten to the bathroom or the baseboards or whatever, but you've got what you need to give them, a drink of something, and here's, the couch, maybe move the laundry or whatever. But here we are, and we're just normal people too, and come on in. How can we serve you? How can we love you? And it doesn't have to feel like this high-strung event,
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's great advice. I love making cookie dough balls, frozen cookie dough balls, where you can pull out a frozen cookie dough ball and put it on a cookie sheet and just throw it in the oven. Of course, that takes a little bit of baking time. I won't say that we always have them, because people have learned that my kids, when they were at home, have learned, you can just eat a frozen cookie dough ball. It tastes actually really good. You don't always have to bake them, so they disappear quite readily. But I love that for last minute company. Or I remember thinking when my teens would have friends over, a lot of times you just have this pile of people coming in, and it was really fun to offer them something. So hot cookies out of the oven, or if it was more of they've been playing sports and might actually want something more than a cookie, I always pulled out some pancakes or waffles and just made those really quickly, because it's always something you have in your pantry or items that you can make from your pantry and fridge. You usually have milk and eggs, that sort of thing. So I think having just some ideas, even like you're saying, even if it's as simple as lemonade and some pantry cookies, or just an idea of what can I do if that happens? If somebody comes piling in, am I going to throw some cookies in the oven with some milk, or ice cold water, or pancakes and waffles? Or we usually didn't make both. One or the other. And if you have bacon to go with it, better, great. If not, they love just the pancake or the waffle.
Yep. Yeah, I usually do try and have like a meal in the freezer. And this is not even necessarily for hospitality. We're in the middle of some home renovations, and there are some nights when getting into the kitchen is really hard. And so like if I have a frozen lasagna or some meatballs in the freezer or whatever, I try and have a couple things that I can pull out and just pop in the oven or in the slow cooker or whatever. And that does double wonderfully if you do have people coming in and out. Because, a lasagna doesn't really take up that much freezer space.
No, and that's a really dense meal. That's going to feed a lot of people.
Yeah. And you can usually make multiple lasagnas or something like that, too, and have one for dinner and then put the other ones in the freezer.
Mm-hmm. Yes, fabulous tips. I love freezer meals. They're the best. I used to do 5 pounds of ground beef at a time, turning them into meatballs. But then for a long time, I would have just this giant bag of meatballs in the freezer that you could boil some noodles, dump some pasta sauce, and you're good to go. If you wanted to make it that simple. Right. Or you could make it more complex. But just having that already cooked and ready to go. Yeah. It's similar to your lasagna. It was just the best.
Yeah. Everyone loves a meatball, too.
Yeah, and it's something kids will eat.
Yeah.
If you cut it up in bites of meat.
Yeah.
Bites of delicious meat.
Right.
and it's soft. So usually it goes for all the ages, but a lasagna is just a one dish wonder. And there's other things like that too. Some
Right.
people make like chicken pot pies or,
Yeah.
just the one dish wonders are fun to make one for dinner and then have an extra for the freezer. So
Right.
plan double next time and your later self will thank your former self.
And it's great even if someone is sick at church and they need a meal, you can pull that meal out and bring it over. Like it really does, it's quite versatile.
I did that once with a lady that had a baby at church. I had a bunch of breakfast burritos in my freezer and some muffins that I had made. And we were heading to church, and somehow I remembered that there had been an announcement to bring some meals to church for the freezer because they lived way out in the country, bring some meals. And I'd totally forgotten about it. So I just grabbed some breakfast burritos and muffins and well, that could be served breakfast, lunch, or dinner because they had a bunch of little boys.
Yeah.
And thought, oh, this is just not real prepared here. But anyway, later I got a message from her saying that it was just one of the best meals they'd eaten and they loved it so much. And the boys just, loved them up. It was perfect for kids, really.
Yeah.
And just kind of a comfort food. But I did have that thought of okay, the freezer is my friend.
Yep. It's true.
You need to make sure it stays stocked.
Right. So true.
Because then you're just ready when you need to be.
It's true.
Speaking of, how many freezers do you have?
This is embarrassing, but I think I have 2 chest freezers, and then I have a garage fridge and freezer, and then an inside fridge and freezer. We have a lot of freezers.
That's amazing. Life goals, actually, because then you can make a giant thing of dessert. I remember you said something about making 2 or 3 of your pre-made dessert, and you have somewhere to store it.
Yeah.
My daughter actually I think this past year, got a refrigerator off of Facebook Marketplace. And her husband went to pick it up, and it was one for their garage because every time she had a family event at her home, there was nowhere to put all of the extra food that was coming in or prepare it and put it back in their fridge.
Right.
There was just no room. And so they found a really great deal on Facebook Marketplace. So if you're in the market, a lot of times you can find really great stuff. Somebody's moving or maybe they upgraded. And I mean, the refrigerator was nicer than the one I currently own.
Right. Yeah.
And a cheap price compared to going and buying it brand new.
The one thing about moving to the South that I will say that's hard is that it does not get cold enough down here to use your garage as a freezer or a refrigerator. That was very nice
true.
In the wintertime to be able to just put stuff in the garage.
Yes, and it's a natural refrigerator.
Yeah.
Speaking of, where are you and your husband from in the North?
So I'm from Wisconsin originally. My husband's from California, but we lived in Maine for quite a long time. So we just got really accustomed to being able to just be like, go put this in the garage, and it would keep for a few days.
Put it outside and it might be frozen by the time you need it.
Yeah.
Especially in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Okay, what is a must-have kitchen item and where can we find it?
I think my must-have kitchen item is so basic. It's my crock pot. I have several crock pots.
That's
also.
a good one.
And I think I have I'm not even joking. I think I have 5 or 6 crock pots of different sizes. I have one that's 3 small crock pots in a unit, I guess.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I use it all the time. We host a parish group twice a month, and we do Taco Tuesday. So twice a month, we're doing Taco Tuesdays. And it's so wonderful to be able to put corn and rice and queso in one unit off to the side, and it doesn't take up, so much counter space. I don't know. I love it. I love my crock pots. I think that's the one thing that would be really hard to live without.
So do you actually cook the rice in there, or do you just put everything in there to stay warm?
Yeah, I just put it in there to stay warm.
That's a great idea because then it's just not cold and you don't have to keep things simmering on your stove, which rice is hard to keep warm unless, say, you had a separate rice cooker. But it'd be similar to holding it on the warm setting. But kind of the worst thing when you're trying to do something like a taco bar is everything getting cold.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
So having a plan for warm food, I like that.
Yeah.
So the 3-pot one, what is that brand? Do you know? Is it Crock-Pot brand?
I think mine is Crock-Pot brand, but there are Hamilton Beach or different ones I've seen too.
I actually looked, I think it was on Black Friday or around that time when they were having sales on everything. Because I had, I guess, given my crock pot away when we moved from the South and didn't have a crock pot. And I realized this is really a problem. I need a crock pot. I don't remember what I was trying to make. So I bought one, but I made sure to buy the one that had the locking lid, which I'd never had before. It was the something cook and carry, maybe they called it, by crock pot. Because in my past, I have used the crock pot numerous times, but if I tried to carry it somewhere, inevitably in the floorboard, something would slosh.
Yep.
No matter how I tried to arrange it or hold it or whatever. Especially if it's just me driving and I'm having to kind of prop it up over there on the side. I'm like, I have to get the one that latches and closes in case I'm carrying it to someone.
Yeah,
so that has been amazing.
There's a 9x13 version. It's like, it's got the lock-in lid too. So if you're making like a casserole or maybe like a, what did I make in it recently? I made I think it's a Pioneer Woman French toast casserole. And
that sounds delicious.
Yeah, you can bake it in the oven, take it out, put it in your crock pot, and it will stay warm. And you can bring it to someone or take it to church. It's fantastic.
That would be a great thing to have for a ladies' brunch or a baby shower or anything like that. Again, so that it doesn't have to be cold. Yeah. You're eating cold bread. Even if you bring it out of the oven and set it pretty quickly on a bar, like right when you're about to serve, by the time you pray and people are talking and the last person goes through, it's cold.
Right.
So having a plan to keep it warm, that is just a good idea. In fact, I just read a book recently. I can't remember. It was a chef had talked about warming plates. I think it was Sam Sifton. He was maybe a former New York Times editor or food critic or something. And he was talking about having warm plates in the oven and bringing out warm plates to set out for your guests before serving. And I thought, I've never done that before, but that actually is a really fun idea.
Yeah.
The temperature of your plate as soon as you serve your food is not bringing your food down.
Right.
And I think he talked about how in the hot South, maybe that's not a big deal, but if it was a colder environment or a colder building or maybe blasting air conditioning, that would be a fun way to keep your food hot before you go to the table. So life goals, I don't know if I have enough oven space if I was keeping food warm to also warm my plates, but potentially, maybe one day.
That is a great idea.
Yeah, there are warming drawers under ovens that I forget about completely.
I'm pretty sure that's where all my lids is under my oven.
Yes, I think I have a giant pan there right now, one of those like turkey roasting pans that you only use once a year. So I could pull that out. I need to experiment with this because that might be a really fun thing. As long as they're not hot. You don't want to have something so hot that it's burning you to pick up or a kid. Right. Just a warm plate. So I'm not sure how hot it would get in that drawer, seeing as how I don't use the drawer. So anyway, that's a potential hot tip.
Yeah.
Hot tip.
Literally.
Literally. Okay, so the crock pot, must-have kitchen item. Yeah. And I'll have to look up and put a link for the 3-dish or the 3-bowl crock pot. That's a fun addition when you're serving something like a taco bar or Chipotle bowl or something like that. Do you have a story from all of your years of hospitality that you want to share with us?
I feel like every party we host, something really silly happens. There was one time, it was actually my husband's ordination, his weekend. So we had people coming in from out of town. And I thought I was going to be really proactive. And I had made a cast iron. It's really funny. A cast iron. I don't even know what size it was because it wasn't a 9x13. It was massive. Like I had this hand-me-down big, I mean, maybe it was like 20x18 size cast iron pan. And I had pre-made enchiladas that I, carefully wrapped and everything was done by, scratch. And it was just these beautiful enchiladas, put it in the freezer. And I was like really ahead on life. And we had, I think like 20 guests come in. And there was one guest in particular who we weren't super close to just yet. And it was kind of an important person in my husband's life. So I was trying to impress a little bit, like trying to do right by my husband. And I went to pull out the enchiladas, pop them in the oven, and like an hour goes by, I check on them. They're frozen. Like I can't stick a fork through the center. Like they're frozen. Another hour goes by, still cold. And I'm like, what in the world? Like I have all these people to feed and like we have to get to the church. Anyway, I learned a valuable lesson that when you freeze something in cast iron, it does not cook the same as if you just like take it, from a metal pan or a glass pan. Like that cast iron retains the cold as well. So we did not have enchiladas for dinner. We ended up ordering pizza, and it was hilarious and a disaster, and everyone thought it was funny. And I'm pretty sure that I just left those enchiladas in the oven the entire church service and came home, and they were like just then cooked. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I have never seen a cast iron that big.
It was huge.
I have the round skillets, but I don't have anything like a rectangular baking dish. That is so interesting. I did not know that either, that you would think that it would absorb the heat quickly.
Yeah.
But apparently not.
I think it was just so large and there was so much frozen, like rock solid frozen food that I just had not factored in. It was going to take way longer.
And if it's from a deep freezer, the deep freezer holds it a lot colder than a regular freezer. Right. So bringing it up from the deep freezer temperature is even further.
Right.
You would have to take that into account with time as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was
2 hours plus.
Yeah. So that was my husband's ordination meal, was pizzas from the local pizzeria. It's a great memory.
You forever have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of enchiladas to enjoy for many days after that.
We ate a lot of enchiladas.
You never wanted to see enchiladas again.
Yeah.
It's a really good plan to have pizza as a backup. You know, back in the day, what did they do? I don't know. Before pizza delivery.
Yeah. That's the thing with hosting, though. Like, you can think you have it all figured out, and sometimes life just throws you a curveball, and you just got to roll with it and, like, not let it get to your pride. So, everyone was fed, and it was funny. So,
yeah, and everyone learned a valuable lesson. Anyone that had cast iron and things in the deep freezer learned, well, maybe.
Yeah.
I should set it in the fridge the night before or something different.
Yeah, that was very funny.
That's pretty great.
We've also had, this was pretty funny recently, we had, I think it was a Good Friday psalm sing at our house. And we usually have like a cooler filled with like beers and Coke and whatever. And all the boxes just got put into the back fire pit, like on our back property. And the kids with their pool noodles were like fighting each other. Well, of course they needed armor. So they went into the fire pit and took out these like Coke boxes and beer boxes, and they like made armor out of the boxes. And it was pretty impressive. Like, That's
creative.
It was great armor, but we just like, the moms are sitting at a table and we see a kid with like a beer box on his head as a helmet running by with his pool noodle. And we were just dying laughing. It was so cute and so funny.
Those are priceless pictures.
Yeah. It was wonderful. They had the greatest time with some boxes.
Yeah, kids, it doesn't take much. Sticks, pool noodles, boxes, a yard. That's all they really need.
Right. Totally.
That's wonderful. And being in the South, you can host outside a good portion of the year. Yeah. I don't know about winters in Georgia, but I would think they're pretty mild.
They're pretty mild, yeah. Yeah. You can pretty much host outside, I think, well into like Thanksgiving time frame, really.
Mm-hmm. That makes it nice for having a lot of kids over for sure.
True. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ericha, for joining me. It's been so fun to hear all of your tips and all of your advice. It's just going to encourage a lot of people. It already has encouraged me to just keep doing hospitality and look at the people in front of us and the people coming over and really think through how to welcome them in particular, especially your family first.
Thank you so much for having me.
Until next time, bye for now. Before you go, if you enjoyed this episode, take a second to follow the show and leave a review. It really helps the podcast grow and reach new listeners. Thanks for listening, and if someone came to mind during this conversation, be sure to share this episode with them.